Boston Celtics get back to playing Celtics basketball. They moved it. They took great shots, not just the good ones. And the bench stepped up thanks to Joe Mazzulla challenging them. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you every day with a free, fresh podcast directly to your device if you're a subscriber. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Show's also on YouTube, so watch the show there. And if you are watching on YouTube, you'll see that I am podcasting today from the floor here at the American Airlines Center, where the Boston Celtics got a big win over the Dallas Mavericks, 124-95, 30-point win on national TV. A nice bounce back for the Celtics. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a book called Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. I played ball once upon a time, a long time ago. Later on, I'll talk about the thing that I'm really looking for. What am I really looking for after this game? That's coming up next. And I'm not exactly satisfied with the bounce back nature of this win. Happy about it? Satisfied with it? No. Neither is Joe Mazzulla, by the way. The second segment will be about the bench and the challenge by Joe Mazzulla for the role players, not just the bench, the role players, but that means mostly the bench. Let's get into this game here. Jayson Tatum drops a triple-double. So I guess that's the headline. Jayson Tatum, 29 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists. And overall, not a great shooting night for him, but early on, when Jaylen Brown got into foul trouble with a couple of offensive fouls early on and had to go to the bench, the Celtics were kind of in a tough spot. Derek White also goes to the bench with two quick fouls. And the thought process there is, this is going to be tough for the Celtics to kind of overcome this. The Dallas Mavericks were able to key on Jayson Tatum. They're able to throw an extra body at him and really try to take the ball out of his hands. And one of the impressive things is that he got the ball to other guys and they were able to make plays. He had 3 assists. 3 of his 10 assists came in the first quarter. And that kind of set the tone, I think, for the night, where the Celtics were able to get these contributions from the bench. The first half, they got 21 points combined from Grant Williams and Malcolm Brogdon, which we haven't seen in a while. So it was nice to see those guys step up. You saw Grant super aggressive in this game, getting to the rim. A great spin move and finish where he flexed in front of the crowd. It was a really fun performance for him. Malcolm Brogdon comes in, hits shots, and Tatum's out there just kind of like, hey, they're not giving me the opportunity to get my shot. He forced maybe a couple, but I thought he did a good job of getting off the ball and moving the ball around. And that's one of the things I was looking for coming into this game. And I'll be honest, I think this is one of the better overall top to bottom games the Celtics have played this season. And sure, it's Luka Doncic, who looked sick and was coughing and did not look like himself. And it was TNT, and it's very easy to get up for a TNT game and a Luka Doncic game. That's something that you can count on for any team. But I was looking for Tatum to come in and Jaylen to come in and say, hey, if the offense isn't there, let me get off the ball and the offense will come. the last podcast, I said the same thing. The last two podcasts. You know what I'm going to say. If you're a regular listener, you know what I'm going to say. Make the right play, the right guys get the right stats, that stuff. This is a great example of that. Jayson Tatum made the right play early on, ends up with a triple-double. Didn't force much, ends up with a triple-double. Jaylen Brown only played 29 minutes because of foul trouble, gets 19 points on 50% shooting, 40% from three, 5 of 6 from the line, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. He had a really good game, minus the foul trouble. He picked up Luka Doncic. He told Joe Mazzulla this morning, I'm guarding Luka. So he stepped up to the challenge of the moment, stepped up to the challenge. And yes, he was in foul trouble, but he didn't force things. And eventually when he came back, he just kind of let things come to him. That's what I was looking for. By the way, today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. So as those guys, Tatum, Brown, Marcus Smart, eventually were working their way up to doing what they do best, scoring all of that. That didn't come to the third quarter. There were stretches of Al Horford, who 3 of 6 from the field, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, had a pretty decent game. He had a good stretch early on where he was doing a lot. So he did a lot in a very condensed amount of time. Brogdon comes in, like I said. Grant Williams comes in, like I said, and does a good job until it's time for the starters and the stars to do what they do. Sam Hauser hit a couple of shots, a 3-pointer and a putback. So when you're coming off of that loss to OKC, this is the type of performance that you want to see. Not just, hey, bounce back, nice win, you beat the Mavericks by 30. It's you didn't have one guy say, you know what, I'm going to take it on myself to come back and play a certain way to try and get us back on track. It was a total team effort. They had 29 assists on 41 makes. It was good ball movement. It was crisp offense. They played at a great pace. They took the great shots, and I thought that they just played an overall good, solid basketball game. The bench steps up. Joe Mazzulla challenged the bench to step up. He called out all of the role players at film session. The guys responded really, really well to that. I'm going to talk about that next. First, let's talk about LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs does what you want a job search to do, which is get you the big pool of people so you can say, here's 30 qualified candidates, here's 40, here's 50, here's 100 qualified candidates for a job. Let me whittle down this big group of people so I can find the absolute best candidate. I grew up in a small business. I know what it's like to have people come and go. And with LinkedIn Jobs, small businesses can really rely on them to attract qualified candidates with open job to your open job with targeting tools. There are 875 member profiles on LinkedIn, so you can go beyond resume data by using insights from your job posts to put in front of the most qualified candidates. You can identify them fast and for free with LinkedIn Jobs, and it makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications, all on one platform. This is why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. It's just like putting a basketball team together here on the court. You get them all in here, you try them out, you figure out who's the best player, and that's going to help you win. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find these qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. How about Locked On Sports Today? A great way to get caught up on all the big stories in the sports world. 22 minutes, local hosts, local experts. It's just not like anything you're going to find anywhere else. So check that out wherever you get your podcasts. Joe Mazzulla was criticized after that OKC game. Fire Joe Mazzulla, all the same stuff. And I don't want to get caught up in the how social media reacts to losses, or especially losses like the one against the Thunder, because that's what happens. People just overreact. They go nuts. But it's very obvious to me that even though Joe Mazzulla for sure has things he's learning and figuring out as he's progressing as a head coach, there's no doubt he'll tell you that. If he walked by here, he'd say that for sure. That's 100% true. But at the same time, these guys respect him. They listen to him. They respond to him. So at film session on Thursday morning at the team hotel, he challenged the role players. He said, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum do a lot for this team. They're asked every day to play a certain way, to play the right way, to make the right plays, all of that stuff. Sometimes they do it better than others. It's just like every other basketball player. But they are the ones who are asked to do that. The role players have to step up, and they're the ones who have to support Jaylen and Jayson. It's kind of like what I said recently on the podcast. These are the guys, these bench players are there to support the stars. The stars play a certain way, but you need role players. After the game, Jayson Tatum had a great quote about, I can't do this without Jaylen. Jaylen can't do it without Smart. Smart can't do it without Rob. You need everybody. And you need MVP level talent, which the Celtics have. You need all NBA level talent, which the Celtics have. You need all-star talent. Sure. You need high-level role players. You need mid-level role players. You need specific job doers. You need guys who come in and do one thing, but do it really, really well. You need all of that to come through to be a championship level team. The bench had not been playing well. I ran down the stats on Boston Sports Journal after the last game. I'm sure I said them on the last podcast, but this was a team that in the second quarters, their bench had been going, had started out the season plus, I think, 9 in net rating. So basically outscoring teams by 9 points per 100 possessions. Their net rating in the last 10 games coming into this game was a minus 6.8. Their net rating in this game in the second quarter against the Mavericks plus 37. So that's per 100 possessions, but just a kind of standardized visualization of how good the offense and defense are playing. Gotta include the fact the plus 37 is an outrageous number. Obviously, it's a single quarter, so the numbers are way out of whack. But the point is, that's how good the second quarter was for the Celtics. Gotta include the fact that the Mavs just flat out couldn't hit a damn thing. Could not hit a shot to save their lives. As I said on Boston Sports Journal, Texas is full of barns, and the broadsides of all of them are safe because the Mavericks couldn't hit a single one of them in this game. They had some G League kid, Hardy, come in, and he was 3 of 3. They were 7 of, I forget, 20 something. They shot 21%, and he was 3 of 3. He's the only one who actually hit a good amount of his shots. Take him out of the mix, and they were even worse. So there is absolutely shooting variance at play for the Mavs, but they got outplayed. The Celtics bench outplayed their bench. The Celtics overall outplayed the Mavericks, and maybe Luka was sick, and that was part of it. And maybe they just missed a ton of shots, and that was part of it. But even if they made a good amount of their shots, it still felt like this was a game the Celtics were going to win. But Joe Mazzulla getting his team together, Marcus Smart said, hey, we responded well when he challenges us like that. We take it to heart, but we don't take it personally. Grant Williams, same thing. Malcolm Brogdon, the same thing. Where when you have a coach that you believe and you trust, and he challenges you, that's this is the response. This is what it should be. You can say, hey, maybe you should have challenged them sooner. Okay, but this is when it happened, and this is the story. And at some point, you got to try to let the guys figure it out themselves. This isn't college. This isn't high school. You can't hold their hands through everything. But when you see that they're not figuring it out themselves, sometimes you got to step in. It's the same concept as the timeouts. Why isn't he calling the timeouts? It's the same idea. You got to let them figure it out from time to time. But Mazzulla, I think it's important after the OKC game and people's opinions of Joe Mazzulla. And I don't think a lot of you who are listening have this opinion of him, but I do see it in the comments on the YouTube page. So you can chime in the comments there and see if your mind has changed. If you're one of the people who has been saying that Joe's not right, did this change your mind? Does this aspect of this game story change your mind? That he challenged the role players, and to a man, they all stepped up. Challenge Grant Williams, he steps up. Malcolm Brogdon finally, after a long stretch of not playing well, stepped up. Marcus Smart in support of Tatum and Brown. You can kind of call him a high-level role player. You can consider him one of the stars. However you consider him, he had 9 points in the third quarter in a third-quarter run where the Celtics kind of broke it open. And he was one of the guys who hit a three-pointer where the Mavs were sort of challenging. They cut it down to like 12 or 13, and then it was like 3-3-3, and get it back up to close to 20, and then go on a big run to get it up to about 25 heading into the fourth quarter. Kind of cruise into the fourth quarter. Fourth was kind of like, but it started out that way. Then they got it up to 30 at the end. Never really challenged after that. But hey, all of these guys stepped up. When I do my post game on Boston Sports Journal, and it's up and down, I didn't have anybody down. I didn't think anybody had a bad game in this game at all. I thought everybody played well top to bottom. And got to give Joe Mazzulla a thumbs up as well. He did a great job getting his guys together. Now, what do they do next? As I said on the last podcast, this was not the game I'm worried about. It's the next one. I'll tell you what Joe Mazzulla said and all of that coming up next. First, today's show brought to you by BetOnline.net, your number one source for all of your sports betting info, your stats, news, and analysis. It's all there at BetOnline.net. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. You got pro football heading into the playoffs, college bowl season just wrapping up soon, and the obviously NBA heading into the All-Star break in about a month or so. So it's all there at BetOnline. They've got sports podcasts, which I know you love. That's at BetOnline as well. It's the fastest and easiest way to get all of your sports betting information. So head on over to the website. You can use your mobile device to get there if you'd like. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. One of my favorite things said after the game came from Joe Mazzulla, who, when asked, hey, you said after the OKC loss, we will be judged by how we respond. So how do you judge the response? And he said, they showed me they can do it once. Now we've got to do it over and over and over again, which is 100% the absolute right answer. Beautifully said. Doesn't call out his team all that, pointedly, because that's not who he is. But at the same time, does call out his team and puts the onus on them. He says, hey, this is great. This was a good response. And I completely agree. This was a nice response. You come back after that debacle where they deserved every bit of criticism they got. Even the stuff that's unfair, which, hey, a day later you say, okay, maybe this was a little unfair. But even the unfair stuff, they actually have to sit and take that because they put themselves in a position to be judged harshly against the Thunder. And then, you got no choice. You got no choice when you screw up that badly. Even the stuff that's unfair, you got to sit there and be like, you know what? I can't fight back. I can't fight back and say, no, you're being unfair. No, you just shut up and you take it and you come out and be better the next time. That's all you can do. And then after that, you can start talking again. And so that's what the Celtics did. They came here. They played perfect basketball for the most part, as perfect as you can expect an NBA team to play a January game. I thought the Celtics, like I said, everything was really good. Everything was really good. But we expected that. I expected that. I said it on the last podcast or the previous podcast. I wrote it. I'm not worried about how they're going to respond to this. It's Luka. It's TNT. That's absolutely going to be a game where they respond. What do you do on Saturday? That's the game I'm worried about. That's the game I want to see. That's the game where I'm saying, have you learned your lesson from OKC? Have you learned your lesson finally that taking your opponent lightly and not playing the right way, not moving the ball, all of that stuff, not playing defense, not giving up good shots to go for great shots, all of that stuff. If you've learned your lesson, then Saturday you come out and you do what you did against Dallas and you win by 40 and you have garbage time into the fourth quarter. And no, that is actually a little bit unfair. You can play the right way. They can play the right way and lose against the Spurs. It's possible. They can play the right way and be in a tight game. But the point stands. The reason I say it that way is because if the Celtics play the right way against the Spurs, they should win by a good, healthy amount. That's what I expect. So, and Joe said, look, this is about building habits. And I asked Malcolm Brogdon, I asked Grant Williams, I asked Marcus Smart. I asked them all the same question. Yeah, you can get up for this game. It's easy. What about the next one? What about San Antonio? You got Chicago at home on your first game back home, and you owe the Bulls. Those were two bad losses from earlier in the season. You owe them. And you can look at the schedule and be like, oh, baby, I cannot wait to sink my teeth into the Chicago Bulls. You got the San Antonio Spurs first, buddy. And it's very easy. It's human nature. Very, very easy to have that attitude. Can you put that human nature aside? Can you get up for a Saturday night game? You have Friday night off. Can you get up for a Saturday night game in San Antonio against one of the worst teams in the NBA and perform like you did on TNT against Luka Doncic? That, to me, will be the most telling game on this road trip. Because I can write off the Denver loss. Played well enough, played with the right energy. Execution wasn't great, but hey, Dallas was hitting. Denver was hitting everything. I didn't have a problem with the Denver game. OKC was an abomination. This was a great bounce back. Saturday's the lesson. Saturday is the one. And then we move on from there. Play great on Saturday, and you say, oh, okay, they're starting to get it. They're starting to get it. It doesn't mean they won't have bad games moving forward. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfect, that they're going to play perfect basketball, but it's a step in the right direction of building the right habits. That's where this team needs to get. Play the right way, do it more often than not. This team's going to be great. This is a championship team. This Boston Celtics team is a championship team playing the right way. Shots will fall. Joe Mazzulla said it after the game. When we're talking about giving up good to great shots, it's a challenge because for a lot of these guys, good shots mean a bad shot for anybody is a good shot for Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Giving those up to chase the great shots, to work the defense and make the defense feel, get them tired. Work the defense early, get them tired so their legs in the late third quarter, late fourth quarter aren't there, and you can get by them a little easier on drives, and that they don't close out as hard and the shots are a little bit cleaner. That's why you do what you do. You make them work. Even if you spend 20 seconds and you get the same shot at the end, you've made the defense work for 20 seconds. And that all adds up. Because a lot of the shots, the first early offense shots, and sometimes early offense is fine, I get it. But sometimes those shots are there and they're available later. So make the defense work. Get them tired. Make them have to play basketball. Do that more often than not, and this team's going to win a championship. I'm telling you, this Celtics team can win the championship, and they will, playing this way. Saturday's the test. I will do a podcast after Saturday's game, so nothing Friday night. Saturday night, bonus podcast after the Spurs game. So, and that'll be, I'll try to keep that a little bit shorter. Hopefully it's a celebration of, hey, they're starting to build these good habits. So make sure you're subscribed so you can get this podcast whenever it drops directly to your device. You can subscribe on YouTube, ring the bell so you get notified when the podcast drops, when the video drops. Join the conversation in the comments. Fight back against the people who are overreacting. Fight back against the other teams' fans who come storming into the comments to celebrate a win against the Celtics, because everybody loves to celebrate wins against the Celtics. Do that. And if you are a subscriber, share the podcast. Tell your friends, your family, everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.